Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Listen, guys, I'm just doing this real quick as this didn't fit on my live stream earlier on. So what I want to talk about what I want to talk about really quickly is the news out today that asylum. Well, I'll read you this headline, and this is the headline from the Daily Mail. This has been widely publicised over the United Kingdom. Various media outlets are reporting on this. New council houses to be built for asylum seekers in push to end use of hotels, with intense public backlash expected. So as I understand it right now, the government are starting to build they're starting to build houses, and then those houses are then going to be given to then those houses are those brand new houses are then going to be given to migrants, asylum seekers. That's what I'm getting right now. And as I'm saying this to you, in my brain, I can't compute it. I genuinely can't compute this. I can't compute I just can't compute the rationale behind it. So let's see what he says. And I'm reading directly from this article. I'm not going to share the article because it's absolutely blasted with ads. Just reading off the mainstream. Asylum seekers will be housed in newly built council houses as part of a push to end the use of asylum hotels and private landlords. Around 200 local authorities have indicated interest in the government pilot scheme that would fund the building of new properties or the refurbishment of derelict housing to make room for asylum seekers. Are they for real right now? Is this what we wanted? 5 councils, Brighton, Hackney, Peterborough, Thanet, Powys, have confirmed that they are keen to take part in the scheme. Yeah, I bet they are. I bet there's some sweet government money being handed out. Well, clearly there is, because the government, do you know what? It's not even government money, right? The government don't have any money. It's our money being spent through the medium of taxes. However, the proposals are expected to spark fury among the public, and I think rightly so. Honestly, I think rightly so. But let's get into this, because I'm like, in my head, you know, when I see things and they're that wild, I just can't understand why they're doing this. I can't understand why the government would be doing this. Like, anyway, so let's just get on to this. Last year, 1.3 million people were on the social housing waiting list across England, a 3% increase on 2023 and the highest number since 2014. Yet supply is not meeting demand, with 20,560 social homes lost. How do you lose a social home? I don't know how that works. Primarily through right to buy sales and demolitions. Okay, so we're not actually building more houses, we're demolishing. Last year we demolished 24, we demolished 20,000 houses, or 20,000 houses went missing. England will sell off more than 8 times as many council homes in 25-26 as were previously constructed the year before, researchers found. So it's not a good situation right now. Official figures show there are 36,000 asylum seekers in hotels and around 71,000 in dispersal accommodation in the private rental sector. So, as I understand it now, guys, if you're joining right now, the government in the United Kingdom is looking like they're going to start building houses, brand new houses, and they are going to be given to asylum seekers. That's what the headlines are saying. So let me just give some context, and then I will... this is only going to be a short live stream because what I'm talking about now just didn't fit. It didn't fit to what I was talking about earlier. So as of the 31st of December, the United Kingdom government has launched a pilot scheme to build or refurbish council homes specifically for asylum seekers, aiming to phase out the costly and controversial use of hotels. Okay. All right, so I think I'm starting to see sense here. I think I'm starting to make this make sense, right? Let's continue. I've just thought of something then. So what I think they're going to do, and I don't think it's the right thing to do, but what I think they're going to do is they're saying, look, we are paying this much money to hotel companies, to private landlords, and that's going in profit. They're profiting off that. If we build our own houses, oh, I mean, it's shaky maths, man. It's shaky maths. Anyway, what they wanted to do is aim out the use of hotels and private landlords' temporary accommodation. This development reportedly, it's been reported widely in British media today, is part of Labour's broader immigration and housing strategy, but has already sparked predictions of significant public opposition. I said this a while ago, and we all knew this was coming, right? So one way that you stop the boats is you just make it legal, right? And I'm seeing this direction of travel right now where the government in the United Kingdom, rather than actually stopping the boats, they could just, the government could just make it legal, right? And then once you make things legal, you don't need to worry about anything because it's legal. The United Kingdom have been facing challenges in housing asylum seekers while their claims are processed. Under the current rules, destitute asylum seekers, because they're destitute when they come over on the little boats, are entitled to Home Office provided accommodation on a no choice basis, often in dispersal areas across the country to avoid concentrating asylum seekers in one region. Now, I think we're at a saturation point now, so I don't think it really matters, these dispersal, this dispersal housing. It honestly, guys, to me, this seems like we're building 15-minute cities. It does. Hear me out, ladies and gentlemen. Could it be that these new houses are built in little 15 minutes, are built in little... Are these new cities that we're planning to build, and that, you've got everything within 15 minutes and people who live there will own nothing and be happy? I don't know. I'm starting to see that. I am starting to see that. We do have a housing crisis in the United Kingdom. Absolutely have a housing crisis. We have got, don't want to say millions because I don't think it is millions, but we have got thousands of veterans sleeping on the streets. That's the reality. There's no denying what I'm talking about there. So I would say, we don't spend a penny. I mean, can you imagine how, earlier on in the live stream, we were talking about how we're in such a weird place right now. We're in such a weird place in the world right now because we've got this very peculiar situation where things are bad and they're just getting worse. We all know what the problems are, but we just keep making the problems worse, right? And I would say, until we have absolutely abolished homelessness in the United Kingdom, why are we doing this? And look, I'll be quite fair. If the United Kingdom had no problems and we dealt with everything and we didn't have any homelessness, we didn't have young girls sleeping on the streets and having to do awful things to earn money, I would say, yeah, do you know what? We could potentially look at this. But while we have young girls, veterans, vulnerable people sleeping on the streets, being exploited, because we're going to see footage or we're going to see videos very soon. In fact, I saw one the other day. I saw one of these videos the other day somebody posted, and there was a guy. It was a right Cockney geezer. He was homeless, and he was sleeping in the doorway of one of these asylum seeker hotels, right? And I think, and a man, he looked like he was an African man. And he stepped over this guy who was sleeping to get into his hotel. And I was like, wow, isn't that a representation of the United Kingdom right now? So we are going to see very soon, I think, anyway. I think we're going to start to see images when these houses are built, migrants from the Middle East, from Africa, from, wherever they want to come from. And they are going to be living the life of luxury, taxpayer funded, while we have our very own, our own homeless people struggling on the streets. I mean, what kind of dystopia are we in right now? We are in an absolute dystopia. Roxanne is saying we have a people crisis, not a housing crisis. Do you know what, actually, Roxanne? I think that's a fair comment. I think that's a fair comment. We do have a people crisis. We have a sudden explosion of people in the United Kingdom. One thing that people don't talk about when we're talking about one thing that people don't talk about when we talk about these migrant crisis, the people crisis. Let's just use that as the phrase of the day. The people crisis. People don't talk about the utilities. People don't talk about the water. People don't talk about the electricity and the gas, because I think water is the best one to look at, right? If you have, I don't know, if you have 100 people and they're all using water and toilets and all the rest of it, if you then make that 200 people, but you don't change the water supply, that water supply has double the strain on it. So now we're talking about reservoirs, we're talking about sanitation, we're talking about all this stuff. And, people don't really talk about that. Property Gorilla, I don't know who Property Gorilla is, did a great video recently which explains exactly what I think is going to happen. Everything is designed to fail on purpose for the sake of profit. Galloway Raider, can you give more context on that, please? Because I don't know what that means. Everything is designed to fail on purpose for the sake of profit. Well, surely failure is not profitable. That's theft, right? Right? Surely you can't have failure that's profitable. That's just theft. Surely that's theft. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, this was only going to be a short live stream. It was only going to be a short live stream. I wanted to jump on and just let people know that the mainstream media, it's all over the newspapers today. New council houses to be built for asylum seekers in push to end use of hotels. So when these people, and I've said this, I said this when it was happening. So when all these people were, protesting outside Epping, wanting the hotel closed, I was like, yeah, I get that, and I get that. But without stopping the flow, without stopping the people crisis, you're not doing anything. You're just moving stuff around. You're just moving problems around, and ultimately, do you know what? Actually, let me get this comment back up. Ultimately, I do think these things, the reality is it's going to fail at some point and it's going to be catastrophic. The more people you shove into a place without giving them, and you have to support them financially at some point. I mean, look, guys, I'm pretty sure there's a graph somewhere. I'm pretty sure there's an Excel spreadsheet somewhere. And this may be what Property Gorilla was talking about. I'm sure there's like a spreadsheet somewhere or like a graph where it says, if the boat migrants get to this number and the taxpayers drop below this number, we have a crash. And I think that spreadsheet will exist. And the cynical mind in me is thinking, is there somebody pushing towards that graph? Is somebody trying to make those lines converge so there is a crash, there is a fall? Because ultimately, with unemployment going up, I mean, I think we're at record unemployment now, right? With unemployment skyrocketing or employment plummeting, with more people that need to be supported financially, more people have to be supported financially, and whether you say that's migrants or whether you say that's the unemployed, that's the reality, right? If less people are paying tax and more people are claiming free money, and look, guys, I don't want to talk about it now, but have you seen this stuff that's been happening in Minnesota in the United States with the Somalian daycare centers? It's wild. It really is wild. And I think there will be similar scams. I don't know what they are, but I think there will be similar scams. I don't know what community is with, but I think there will be similar scams in the United Kingdom. In fact, I remember watching one a while ago about an English school that had no students, that was taking money each year. And what happened was you could get, I'm thinking off the top of my head now, you could get a student visa. And you could say you were studying at that school, The school was never open. There was no students. There was no teachers. It was just an absolute front, and it was just a scam, basically. So I would say there are a lot of these scams happening in the United Kingdom, and that's where I'm leaving it, guys. That's where I'm leaving it. This was just going to be a quick live stream. New council houses to be built for asylum seekers in the United Kingdom in a push to end the use of hotels. There we are, guys. You know, everybody was complaining. Everybody wanted the hotels closed. Turns out the hotels are getting closed, and we're putting these people in brand new houses when we have veterans on the streets. What do you think about that? I don't know. Put it in the chat. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be back on tonight. Later on, I will be back on later on tonight at 8 for my normal timings. I'll see you guys later.